Y'all are muted. Hey guys, can you hear me? Because y'all are muted.
Commissioner Cope, we can hear you. And Attorney Ponder, before the meeting starts this.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Y'all are muted.
Can you not hear us? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Welcome back, Holly.
Oh, I have. Yes. Can you not hear us? There we go. Attorney Ponder, Trustee Delman resigned from the Board of Trustees. Trustee Lee Williams was appointed at the last Board of Trustees meeting. Would you need to swear him in for tonight's meeting?
We don't under the statute. Can you remind me though, if you do typically have a swearing in? I kind of recall that you do.
I know the last commissioners, but that's because they're from the taxing entities. Locheman and Weiss were appointed via resolution, but being that Lee is appointed as a Board of Trustee member and has already been sworn in, I think procedurally we're okay.
Yeah, I think procedurally you're just fine. So unless you wanted to do it for tradition and you're good otherwise. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the update though.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, then. I will call the Thursday, August 21st, 2025, Town of Lyons Urban Renewal Authority meeting to order. We have the roll call, please.
Yes, Chair Rogan,
Present.
Commissioner Hamrick,
Present.
Commissioner Dottie,
Present.
Commissioner Lowell,
Present.
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Browning,
Present.
Commissioner Drystat,
Present.
Commissioner Cope,
Present.
Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Well, no, there's two now, so it's really.
Maybe we can refer to her as Stone Williams.
Okay.
That's her.
Perfect. Commissioner Locheman and Commissioner Weiss.
Here we have a forum. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a second? Second. Discussion? Okay, so. Commissioner Cope?
Motion passes unanimously.
The first item of business is the consent agenda. Would you please read consent into the record? Quick, yes.
Yes, item 1 are the April 17th, 2025 Laura regular meeting minutes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? I move to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Anything anyone would like to read on consent? Great. Call for the vote.
I'll abstain, not having been a member of the person.
So the motion passes 6-1, well, passes unanimously with Commissioner Williams abstaining.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to general business. Update by Moss Rock Development on hotel plans. Request list.
Okay, I have an email that was submitted by Edna Johnson, Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. And the topic is the Laura meeting update. And it goes, I apologize for the delay. I'm sorry to say that there's nothing new to report. We continue to wait on interest rates to drop. Uncertainty remains regarding tariffs and supply chain. For example, concrete has gotten very expensive and builders are looking for workarounds. We keep in touch with interested investors who are in the same holding pattern we previously reported. I wish I had better news.
So that's the update. As the is the lower board, unless, I believe, unless they are asking for an extension, there's not really any discussion to be had at this point, but I would hope that the Board of Trustees and staff can discuss what options might be available to help with. And Chuck, I'm sorry, Commissioner Browning, would you like to add anything?
Just that it's become apparent under the agreement. You're not going to send it around to the commission. Under the agreement, they have to actually begin construction by December 5, and obviously not. So. Expired times that. That could both on the URA level and on the trustees level. Discuss what I. Incentives that could be offered on the town level. Or that will extend that. So, discussion to me. Coming here.
Anything else? All right.
Oh, Madam Chair, could I just chime in really quickly?
Yes.
I apologize, Commissioner Browning, it was very difficult to hear you, so I didn't. No, it's okay. Maybe you could repeat what you said, and then I think you were maybe flagging what I was going to flag which is you do just have a date to be aware of in the existing agreement of December 16th, 2025 for their deadline to start construction. And I can do a double check in the agreement, but my recollection is that it just automatically terminates if they don't meet those dates. Maybe perhaps that's what you were saying, Commissioner Browning.
That's what I said, and I said we need
Okay.
to discuss that between now and then on both the URA level and at the Board of Trustees level in terms of what our alternate plans are. Are there other incentives we could provide for a hotel either there or somewhere else? And do we want to do that or we want to basically start over? So yeah, that's basically what I had to say as well.
Great, thank you. And I can hear you better now.
Okay.
Thank you. And Commissioner Cope, the microphone is suspended from the ceiling in the owl, so we'll all try to speak up. Okay. All right, let's move on then to the presentation by Roots to Revival. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
It's nice to see you.
We weren't sure which format we sent two, like a packet and a deck. Do you have the deck?
Yep, I uploaded them. You're welcome to hop on. I can't share my screen and do minutes at the same time, but the board does have both that you sent in.
Okay.
And they've been posted publicly.
Okay.
And then, Madam Chair, could I just say something before they dive in?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I just wanted to kind of preface, so tonight on the agenda, you'll be seeing this presentation, and there will probably be some overlap about talking about kind of a future, like a development plan. And I just want to flag that a number of you also sit as a board of trustees. And so we want to be really careful to kind of focus the discussion tonight on funding and conversation around the Lura board, and not something that would be quasi judicial, that is really something for the Lyons Board of Trustees to consider. And I know that there certainly can be some overlap there, but I just caution those that do sit in that dual role that to keep kind of prejudgment on the development plan itself or the project out of this, and not kind of make any statements on the record around that aspect. So really kind of focusing on the funding component, obviously understanding you need to understand the project to talk about funding. And so if you have any questions, happy to answer that, but just wanted to table set a little bit there. Thanks.
Thank you for that reminder, Attorney Fonder. And if anyone who's sitting on the Board of Trustees inadvertently sort of goes off tangent on that, I'd appreciate it if I don't see your hand, if you could just sort of flag it for us verbally.
Of course, yeah, and it's a credit to your town attorney. He kind of pinged us on it, and I was like, great point. So, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Great.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm trying to get the deck. Hold on.
While Sarah's doing that, I'll just kick off and first of all say thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I think you probably know the whole team, Sarah, Boring, and Bart, Boring.
But what about the short members of the team back there?
What's your names, guys?
Grayson.
Sophie and Grayson.
Okay.
And they're getting a civics lesson. They've been deep in meetings here at the city. And then, of course, Renee Doubleday, who is my business partner with Generator, and I'm Paul Townsend. Thank you for the time today. We did bring some renderings. This is the first time we've seen them as well in print. So this is an early conceptual drawing, but not really. It's pretty well baked. The exterior rendering components of it are still in flux because we're waiting on proposals for the type of masonry we're going to use on the exterior, whether it's all stone or a combination of stone and brick. So I'll show this to you tonight. Again, just with the acknowledgement that tonight isn't about design, it's about, you know, what we're here for in terms of TIF, but we were excited to show it. So with that, I'll show them, and then I think Sarah's going to walk us through the plan. This would be the corner of 4th and Main. And you can see, I'll point out just a couple features. There is a second story that has been set back. It's about 10-12 feet. You barely see the corner of it here. So from a pedestrian perspective on Main, it'll really feel like a single story building. And then this would be a view from the other side of the street where Marigold is. And we added in the height and image of the building next to us, so you get a sense of the scale of it in terms of how it would fit into the street. You see the setback second story here much more. You see that there? So with that.
First, do we need to sign into the meeting as a
Yes,
analyst?
I send you panelist in.
I just want to make sure I was doing the right thing. Okay.
So we'll go through the.
Recording in progress.
Yeah.
Please check the chat to see if Sharon is trying to. Or Victoria is trying to.
No, that's an old one.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear and see everything fine.
Great, thank you.
I'll just great into Okay.
It may not, I feel like sometimes I do have trouble if it's like a full screen. So this may be the. I may not show a presentation mode. This is fine. Okay.
There's a little flag, or it's not following that. It's not gonna do the slides.
Yes. I don't think so. For some reason, I think that everything's just.
Okay, so I think we'll have to look at it like this. I apologize. So I think I was distracted while Paul was talking, but I think kind of introducing us, obviously Paul and Renee are kind of the professionals in the room, and Paul's done a lot of really great work in Denver. Does a lot of adaptive reuse, and he's very mindful of, I think one of the things that kind of drew us, Bart and I, to Paul and Renee from the get-go was just how thoughtful Paul and Renee are about integrating kind of architecture and buildings into a community and doing what's right. And kind of really addressing the community needs of the feel of a community. And then Bart and I are just locals who are passionate about this town and want to see something great go in that corner. That's kind of how we got involved. For the project overview, it's all kind of outlined. It's a 2-story mixed-use commercial building. And we put a lot of effort into making sure it kind of complements the historic downtown and looking at the things that kind of make downtown Lyons special. The one kind of bigger change since the last time that we spoke before Laura is that it will no longer have a basement. That was just cost prohibitive, unfortunately. So that was removed from scope. So now it is just a two-story building. Our key objectives are addressing the blight, obviously, and supporting the economic growth of downtown to increase foot traffic. And then to create more community kind of architectural assets, like things that are kind of meaningful and noteworthy. Color to add there, Paul. And so our request to Laura, similar to when we spoke with you last, we would like to ask for an 80% of TIF, which would be estimated at $116,000 a year. And then our total project investment into building this building is going to be just over 4.5 million. That's probably my question. Project vision and goals. So I think Paul kind of already detailed it. Right now we have it rendered as a brick building. I don't know if you want to speak to this, but we're still, costs are coming in, and I think we would still love to explore doing full sandstone. Right now we're still trying to get quotes, and so that 4.5 million will continue to go up. So this is all kind of based on brick. But more than anything, we want to bring kind of essential businesses back to Main Street. And we've lost a lot of kind of key functions like the hardware store. And there used to be a general store. We used to have a mail and shipping. We used to have a pharmacy. I don't know that we can bring all of those things back, but those are the kind of services we'd like to bring back to Main, to find tenants that serve both locals and tourists alike. And we want to support year-round businesses. And it's been designed as such. Project background, I think as everybody's aware, Paul and Renee purchased the property back in December 2022, just before the fire. Previously, there were 8 businesses in the building. A lot of retail, Bellwether and Rabbit Brush Gallery were kind of 2 big ones. Unfortunately, the basement fire led to full demolition. I think a lot of that was environmental damage was the reason it had to be demolished. And the high cost to rebuild. It's tough to make a business case, I think. And so I think there was a lot of soul searching on how to make this work. So pre-fire, it was a single-story building. There was a basement that had additional tenants. It was a pretty shallow basement though, so which is why there was such a cost to rebuild, because there would be a different height structure. I want to see the ceiling height was 8 feet. Is that something?
Even though we had a hole, we would have needed a bigger hole.
Yes, and it's very expensive to dig. So as Paul kind of explained, I think he's very thoughtful about the design, is that, most of the buildings on Main Street in that corridor from 4th to 5th are single-story buildings, particularly our neighbor as well. There's a term that I think, there's an official term to the pedestrian-friendly nature, like to make
Just the scale.
the scale of it, yeah. So like when it's a 1-story building, it makes it a more pedestrian friendly corridor. And so we wanted to look at like a 1-story building. And so the second story was intentionally set back. The deck is somewhere between 15 and 18 feet wide on both Main Street and 4th, so that when you are standing on the sidewalk, it looks and feels like a 1-story building. And it'll all be kind of street level retail spaces. And then the second story, our intent is to put a working space up there, which hopefully should help with that year-round traffic to have people on Main. Some of the design highlights, or what we find are highlights, are the continuity and scale, which I was just talking about, the massing, and the style with local kind of historic town assets. 2 pictures that I love are the 2 in the middle, which I apologize are very small. But that's what was originally on the corner. So it actually started out as a 1-story building. And at some point in the early 1900s, a second story was added. It looks like brick in the picture. It is sandstone though, just kind of in a brick shape. But if you look, if you really kind of zoom in on that one on the right, if you look at the windows, they're very similar, kind of in style, size, to what we have in our renderings. So it's pretty complementary to kind of what the building was back in the early 1800s in many ways. And then the pictures on the bottom are kind of on our, on the National Register. They're on kind of the historic sandstone walking tour. And so we were kind of pulling from some of the details and the kind of the massing and the style in those buildings as well, so that it complements our historic assets. So the street level space in total is just under 7,000 square feet. The masonry and design will address both Fourth and Main Street, so it'll be kind of a consistent look and feel as opposed to kind of one-sided. The north wall that faces Miami, we've talked to LAHC about doing a mural there, so we can accommodate public art in the north wall if that's of interest. And we made a lot of effort to kind of minimize the visibility back of house, so like the trash cans, the utilities, things like that. So when you're walking along Fourth, there's been a lot of effort in the design so that that won't be visible and something that people see when going up and down the sidewalks.
And just as a point of reference, you won't be able to see it really in this floor plan, and Paul, you'll have to tell me what the distance is, but this is larger than the original footprint of the prior building. So we are extending to the north another,
2,000 feet total.
so how many feet closer to Miami are we?
To the property line, probably another 25 feet.
Okay, so yeah, you probably can't tell that here, but just FYI, it is bigger, the footprint is bigger than the original building that was there before.
The property line goes right up to right around where the driveway apron is. So the second floor, because it's set back, is quite a bit smaller. It's about 3,600 square feet. So it'll have a great deck overlooking the main street, and we're designing it, kind of putting in some of the infrastructure anyway, so that it could be a flexible space to allow for a future conversion to a restaurant or a bar. But for the foreseeable future, co-working is what we're thinking. So the types of businesses that we would like to see again are a kind of a general store, kind of filling in the needs that St. Vrain Market does not fulfill. So not food, but over-the-counter medications and things like that. Shampoo, mail and shipping services. And we would like that to operate out of the co-working store, or out of the general store. Co-working upstairs. And then for additional tenants, we've been in talks with some healthcare providers, some other retail options. You know, it's too early for us to have other commitments from tenants. But our focus is on tenants that drive foot traffic to Main Street. And with the overarching focus is to find around to increase year-round foot traffic.
And I think like Sarah has said in the past, is that the general store, you know, not just like trial sizes of things, like to have full on everyday needs to save, you know, $40 or 40-minute trip if you go up and back either to Boulder or Longmont. So they actually do have some staples and they're in real sizes. So hopefully it would be a true amenity for the community and, you know, save some time and some miles on the car.
Yes. And so, you know, we have a note in here that Bart and I, kind of separate from this partnership, Bart and I are committed to owning and operating the general store on the main level and the co-working upstairs. Which mostly just de-risks the project a little bit because we'll have, you know, once the tenant build outs are complete, immediate activation, which hopefully will not, so the building doesn't sit empty longer. So community impact, we think that we're anticipating the property value increase to be about 4.3 million. So right now we're kind of setting, after a conversation with the assessor, it seemed like the most prudent thing to do was to assume that the appraised value would be our cost to build. So that's kind of where we've set that. So based on that, the anticipated property value increase is just over 4.3 million. Based on just the available tenant spaces, we're looking at least 5 new businesses with full-time and part-time employees each. Sales tax revenue could be anticipated from those businesses. I think it's too early to kind of anticipate exactly. And then the social cultural benefits we will see foot traffic increase. We want to restore those essential everyday services to the town. We want to support heritage tourism and kind of that Main Street charm for all of the people passing through town. I think this is such an important corner because it kind of serves as a billboard to Main Street, and which is also why we've done an angled entrance or an angled front to it, because it's one of the first things people see kind of when they're getting into the heart of Maine. And I think it'll just reinforce Lyons as a thriving small town. Well, hopefully would like to linger in. So as far as alignment with Flura's objectives, replace a blight with a visually appealing functional building. We want to do a lot of kind of infrastructure enhancements, obviously kind of all the fire suppression systems so that road length does not burn down a third time. And we want to invest in a high quality facade, so which I hope hopefully you see kind of in the design, something that truly adds value to Main Street. And hopefully that'll, result in, economic growth, for all of the businesses, rising tide lifts all boats. And we think it'll serve as an anchor project for future revitalization. Obviously, there's a lot of commercial properties for sale, a lot of people interested in developing, and I think usually you just need one person to make the leap, and hopefully this is that project for town. So use of funds, the blight, obviously the demolition, site work. Part of that is putting a mural on the north wall. Infrastructure enhancements. We're doing a lot of utility work and utility connections. We need to cap water lines in the CDOT right of way, which is not particularly easy. We have to do a new transformer. We want to put in new 3-phase electrical service, new water lines, purchasing tops, building envelope enhancements around the sidewalk and whatnot. And then we want to put solar panel infrastructure on the roof to make the building as environmentally friendly as possible. So for design criteria, the architectural facade enhancements, we want to use local sandstone and or high quality facade materials. We've mocked it up as brick as kind of the minimum, but we're still, our stretch goal is all sandstone.
And it still has sandstone accents in it, so, hopefully it's still a nod to like Sarah's and other buildings that have just as part of the building facade uses the local sandstone.
Yes. And the storefront glazing systems with historic proportions. I mean, these windows are 11 feet tall. So they're pretty significant, which is what the original 1800s building was. Wood and metal cornices, trim, parapet detailing to match the rest of the downtown aesthetic. The second floor setback is part of that, the angled corner facade, the historically styled window door assemblies and lighting. The design criteria. For public benefit, the commercial storefronts, ADA compliance, public facing facade. We're going to have outdoor seating kind of outside of the general store on both Main and Fourth, hopefully. Outdoor lighting and sidewalk enhancements. So our proposal for the TIF allocation. So our over a 15-year period from 2026 to 2040, we anticipate the total increment amount to be just over 2.1 million, about 145,000 a year. So as I said before, we would like to request 80% of that, with the remaining 20%, which is about 29,000 annually, 436,000 total to go back to Laura. So the financial projections, this is kind of where we are today. As of November 2024, the actual property value is just under 190,000. Annual property taxes about 2,200. And then again, post-construction, after a conversation with the assessor, he said kind of our total cost to build is where we should kind of put the actual value. So that's where the 4.5 million came from. So our project timeline, permitting, we're hoping will be complete by October. We filed the major development plan and foundation only permits earlier this week. Demolition is ongoing, because we did already have a demolition permit. So we're ready to start construction also in October of this year. The core and shell of the building should be complete by fall of 2026, with tenant build outs complete in early 2026. And I just want to note, and I think the Board of Trustees is aware of this, but as we applied for a tax credit, which kind of functioned a little more like a grant through Colorado OEdit. And I just want to note how much support we were grateful to have gotten from local businesses, from the Creative District, from the Board of Trustees. And I think everyone's very excited this is on Main Street. We unfortunately were not awarded the tax credit. It was pretty competitive. But we were very grateful for all the support. We were invited to reapply, so we will be reapplying for that again next year. But that's now receive it. So in conclusion, we just wanted to make our formal request for TIF for this project to make it financially viable.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you. Commissioner Cope, I'll start with you since you're online, and if you wouldn't mind on sharing your screen, that would be terrific. So Commissioner Cope, do you have any questions?
I do not.
All right.
I wish the fire department got some of this money, but you know, that's the rules. We'll still be there.
Hopefully not at that same spot again ever. Commissioner Hammer?
No question, just a comment that I love the proposal and forwarding.
Same, I'm very excited about this project and thrilled to see the design, although I know we can't discuss it. And so I'm not going to ask any questions to regards to funding. I'm going to keep my questions for.
Okay.
Yeah, two quick question. You're familiar with the guardrails associated with the Lyons URA? Yep. Sure.
Like in how to allocate the funds? Or
Well, there are several guidelines. For example, that the town should not take on risk. So any of the arrangements would clarify that the town itself, or I'm sorry, the URA, nor the town would take on risk. No.
yes.
Yeah. There are several others. It might be worth, just going over with the attorney with the hardware side.
Yeah, we can have those sent over to you. Be creative those years ago. Commissioner Browning?
Yeah, I've got a few questions. The first one is really for staff, and I know Administrator Simonson is not end up being with here, but the last time we met, we talked about the LURA value overall being in a negative position due to properties that had gone from taxable to exempt status and demolitions of including this property. Has that situation been remedied? There was some projection that as new buildings came on, like for example, Riverbend's new barn, and there were some revaluations of properties that had been possibly not valued correctly, that negative position become positive again. Does anybody know whether there's been progress with that as far as the assessor is concerned?
That's an excellent question. I think Executive Director Simonson she's on a call. She's just, her screen is up, so maybe she can address that.
No, I can tell you that I don't believe the reevaluation has occurred yet at Riverbend to be accounted for. We did reach out to Boulder County Assessor today and tried to confirm whether this increment would start from the post-fire value or the current value. And they did not get a response to us before the meeting. But as of right now, I think that we are still in an overall deficit until there are some reevaluations.
The, projected incremental value from this property wouldn't really get on to the URA's books in terms of revenue it produces until it's completed and then enters into the valuation base for the assessor's office. So even if they get
Yes.
started constructing in October, it'll probably be a couple of years before this property's incremental value would hit the books, correct?
Yes, it seems to me if their goal is to be done by end of 27, I'm sorry, evaluations occur, let's see, odd years. So it'd be, oh, it could even be 29.
Well, we'll be done end of 20.
And you can correct me, but we talked to the assessor, I think in construction projects, they don't do every other year, they do it every year in order to try and capture the progress that's made, so I think there
Oh.
will be reassessments more frequently.
Yeah,
Oh,
when I
that'd be
spoke,
great.
yeah, when I spoke to the Boulder County appraiser, he said that's how they do it in construction. So right now, he said even at the end of this year, if the foundation is in, which we're hoping it is, it will get reassessed for the improvements that have been made. Yeah, and then he also said that when the project is finished, they will use the cost approach to assessing it. But as the project, takes on tenants, he said, then they will probably shift to an income approach, which will change the valuation. So, and then they use a different means and method for the cost approach, which will probably be different than ours. They have a set, they look up, hey, it's 8,000 square foot building, this type of construction, it tells them the number. That's what they use, regardless of what our number is.
Maybe we could just ask staff to follow up with that on Boulder County assessor. But if that's the case, if they do, as things are constructed, add them into the base, then there may be other things besides her, I don't really need to see Barbara, and it's just the biggest one. As its value is fully constructed now comes online, the way we looked at it before, that should be alone probably close enough to wipe out that negative value. And we had also asked them on the town level to take a look at a couple of specific properties that they had valued as residential that were really commercial, which should, I think, also affect the value. So if we could just maybe do that as a follow-up, that is when those changes in value will kick in and how that, whether that will wipe out the negative overall value for the URA before this project.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Couple of other questions and kind of related to that. I looked on the Boulder County assessor site just now. And the values that they're showing on that site right now are different than what's in the materials. They show actual value $323,500, assessed value $87,375. The last time I had looked at this, they showed the values as zero. So I'm not sure that the numbers on the Boulder County assessor side are, I don't know what to make of them sometimes.
Yeah,
Any idea why those different?
absolutely. When we purchased the building, it was 9 condominiums. So the county assessor has them as 9 separate properties. And we have been working with the county and with the title company to collapse all of those condominiums back into a single entity. And hopefully we get it recorded in the next day or two. We recorded one amendment, it was incorrect, so the title company wouldn't insure against it, so we had to redo it again. So I think and I know that's why the assessment is messed up on the site.
So this still reflects the old condominium regime.
Well, I think the appraiser is looking at it because we've had really great conversation with the appraiser assigned to this area for Boulder County. He is looking at it as a single entity because he's actually been to the site.
Yeah.
But I think the county still is showing it as 9 condominiums. You go online to the assessor, it still shows as 9 individuals. So there's a conflict there. And I think in the next 30, 60 days, it should all be.
So the number they've submitted in the packet is the anticipated number after they make that adjustment.
Which is, what's that number
I
again?
think we said it like 189.
I think that's probably close to it.
Couple of other kind of questions, and relating to the financing, and I'll preface this, but the reason I asked these questions is our experience with the hotel, where DRA, town board, and the property owners all did everything that they could really do to move the project forward. But one of the roadblocks they ran into after they got developed, after they got from the town, after they got to financial approval for DRA was, they had some equity investors from the hotel industry, and they had some lenders that got nervous about interest rates and construction costs and the things that we heard earlier today. So I guess my question is, to what extent is the financing of this project dependent on the same types of sources, either financial lenders or other equity investors that affect the timing of when it moves forward?
Yeah. Jump in, right? You start. Okay, I'll start. You know, I think, you know, we're all subject to what's going on in the world right now, and I think that could change at any moment. In terms of the banking relationships that we have and that we've spoken with, they're not afraid to lend on the project, right? They're looking for a certain amount of equity into it, and I am really super, Renee and I are grateful that we have Barb and Sarah involved in the project. I think that's really, you know, is helping to make it happen. And it's not just their financial commitment up front to get the building built, but it's their commitment to lease space, you know, in the building. You know, it's one thing to build a building, it's another to get it leased. And so to, you know, break ground knowing that we have 2 tenants already, let's call it 70% of their building already leased, is what's given the bank a level of comfort, right? Having said all that, you know, we have 3 hard bids from contractors right now, and we're negotiating those and trying to decide on who will be the best fit. All of them have bid the project with brick and stone accent as far as the proposal, but we are still working with Buddha.
Raul and Buddha.
Raul and Buddha, who I guess did the arch of the cemetery and is really a talented mason and does beautiful work to get a final number on if we did the entire thing as local stone, what that cost differential would be. We know it's definitely a larger delta. We have some estimates, but we wanted to get a hard number. That and a couple other small, you know, additions. We think we can do it. So, and I totally, you know, Anya said, I guess that's a much larger project, and much more complicated. This has its challenges, but we feel confident right now. Unless another war breaks out or who knows what, but that we're good.
How interest rate sensitive is this?
Good question. Not very. We're baking it in so that we fill up any equity needs. Trying to be very conservative on, you know, what kind of leverage we need to actually get this project done. And so we've gone with a very long time horizon. So, you know, this is a long time horizon project. So it's gonna probably require more equity, and that's where Sarah and I, and Paul and Renee are stepping in from an equity standpoint to make the bank completely comfortable. Now, given our relationships with the banks that we're working with, they're very comfortable at the moment. We're gonna make it more comfortable, probably, you know, 20% more LTV than they'll even lend us. So that's conceptually how we're thinking about this.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
Paul and Bart, you each mentioned the banks. Are you far enough along in negotiating those relationships that you could share at least one of those institutions' names with us, or would you prefer not to?
We are prefer not to publicly.
One other question. Can you give us a sense for the logic behind your belief that you're bringing collateral economic benefit to the businesses that surround this property? There are a couple of obvious answers: elimination of the blight, paying more attention to the 4th Avenue face of the building might have passed. Are there other things that have garnered the support of businesses that you showed in the presentation that you might have spoken with about what you'd like to do with this parcel?
Start with you.
I think it's mostly about the tenants that we're gonna seek out. Now, one thing Paul has said before, like, I have no idea how many commercial properties, but, he doesn't have a single national tenant. Because he cares a lot about kind of investing in those local, and that resonates with me deeply, and I am personally plugged into the town in a lot of different ways. I obviously role in the HPC, and I've done some volunteer work, and I have kids at the elementary school. So I see a lot of different age groups and lifestyles, and I have an advantage of hearing of what a lot of people want to see. Because obviously, if there's one thing we like to talk about in Lyons, it's what things could be. So I think we have a pretty good sense of what the town wants on a lot of different levels, and I think we're gonna fight, be patient to find those kinds of tenants, things that serve the local needs and tourists, again, because I think people attract people. We need people on Main Street to help all businesses. I think we want to be very intentional about that, about listing the building. And then also having a building that people want to see, if someone's driving in from DIA, going to Estes Park, Lyons is kind of the first town that they're gonna see on that drive. And so kind of what that first impression is really important, giving them a reason to stop. And I think especially not just any building, but something that feels like an authentic experience, an authentic small town, authentic old quarry town. And I think that'll resonate with people. We want to be a destination, not a pit stop. But I think we could also stand to be a pit stop or a bond too, so.
I'll mention just a couple of other things. I'm gonna put Mark on the spot, but if when the time comes, and to me, it's always about surprise and delight, giving people a reason to stop. And the work that Sarah is doing for the general store and all the really fun components that she wants to do in there, I think it will be a destination, right? I like to think of, development in the sense of push and pull. And I think so often small communities spend a bunch of money doing activations that kind of, push people to towns. But they don't stay because there's no real reason for them to stay, which is what I would call sort of a pull. It's a destination. They want to be there because they're getting something from it more than just an event, an activation of music, whatever it is. And all those things are important in the grand scheme of things, but we're really trying to make a destination. And then I think, Bart, if you want to speak to some of the folks you hope to attract there in terms of incubator and accelerator work.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, so a little context, right? So what I do professionally is I help entrepreneurs build organizations. I do that by providing equity and expertise. And so I work with a lot of sort of high growth companies, ambitious entrepreneurs, coaching them, providing capital for them, etc. And one of the things that we're looking at for the co-working space is really trying to, how do we attract more entrepreneurs to the town of Lyons to actually set up shop here, right? And build companies here, build their lives here. And so, the co-working space we envision as a place for a lot of people in town that have sort of, want to get out of the house and get to a co-working space and get some community, get out about on Main Street, but also a place to convene with ideas, because collisions are really magical when it comes to entrepreneurship and building sort of a notion of community. And so that's the other thing that we're looking to do, is sort of creating a vibrant ecosystem, a place where entrepreneurship and ideas can form. Right now, it's kind of like Moxie and the library are kind of the two main places, maybe Oscar Blues and the beer garden, right? But I want to have a place during the work week where that activity can occur as well. Here.
Additional questions? Yeah, and mine have all been answered. Thanks, team. So where do we want to go from here? I think Commissioner Browning's suggestion that staff follow up with the assessor, revaluations occurring every year is a great one. Do we feel comfortable directing staff to create a draft agreement? And if so,
are we comfortable discussing what number that should be right now?
Yeah, I didn't mean that valuation question to delay this, because until the agreement's finalized, should be able to get more information before that's done, so we should hold off.
Good. Okay.
I'm comfortable with the 80%. I think we need to provide enough of an incentive for this to go forward. Certainly, I don't know about the negative value on the assessor's books, but it certainly has a negative value to the attractiveness of downtown and has for several years.
And your economic vitality.
Yeah, and to, yeah, I'm board liaison to the Economic Vitality Commission, which has representatives of other downtown businesses. I can tell you that they are very interested in seeing the whole field and something put on top of the land, so I'm comfortable with this.
Sure, Presley.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think that the numbers are beneficial to the URA. Sustainable.
Commissioner Lyons?
I'm interested when the time comes to see more of the calculations that would help us to understand what the long-term value of property is likely to be, first on cost basis, then later on income basis. But I don't expect to have those numbers in time for us to make decisions about the TIF and the agreement. So I'm comfortable moving forward with what we're doing.
Great.
Yeah, hopefully 80%. As Commissioner Williams said, I would like to see the extrapolation of those.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far, and I really appreciate the detail that went into the different use of funds, whether it was light or infrastructure or design criteria, especially public benefit. So I appreciate the attention brought to that.
Yeah, I'm supportive as well and would agree with, like to see some math of the units.
Commissioner Coe?
The fire department has no dog in the fight, but I have no objections, and I am also looking forward to seeing that site developed.
Attorney Ponder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just procedurally, what I would suggest if there's, you can either kind of formally make a motion, probably to direct staff to prepare an agreement. What we've done in the past is then brought back a draft agreement, and often we'll kind of go back and forth with the developer on kind of specific terms. And if we have any areas where we need your particular direction, we can schedule for our next meeting an executive session to also take place at that time to get that further direction on negotiations or kind of any particular provisions that you want to see in that. And then we'd bring back the final agreement for your consideration. So just want to lay that out as a potential process, if that sounds good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Executive Director Simonson?
Thank you. I am wanting to know if Attorney Quander could give us a little clarification on, is there any specific order the Board of Trustees or the Urban Renewal Authority Board should take regarding development agreement and a potential TIF agreement?
No, the development agreement, and you'll want to do it, make the agreement with whoever the property owner is, right? And then it can go with successors as and assigns if it ends up changing to a different development entity that develops. But it's really kind of unrelated, because the concept with the redevelopment agreement is if they get XYZ approvals, if they get a building permit, if they get a development plan approval, and if they build it, then they can access the increment. Now, as a board, you can certainly always wait and say, we want, full confidence that this is ready to go before we take up an agreement, but they don't need to necessarily be tied to one another or not. Much like some of our other agreements, I'd recommend that this terminate if they have not commenced construction by a certain date, that we would, have your guidance on to terminate and work with the developer to propose. And so, you know, if they happen to not get the necessary approvals from the town or get to a building permit and start construction, then the agreement just terminates. So it's really up to the board as far as timing, more just based on confidence of the project and proceeding rather than, you know, needing to have approvals from the town on zoning or otherwise before the URA can act to do an agreement with the developer.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, would anyone like to make a motion? Mr. Brown, I'm sorry, Commissioner Browning.
I move that we direct the staff of the Urban Renewal Authority and council to proceed to negotiate a draft of a development agreement along the lines discussed in this meeting, and to bring that back to the URA Commission for consideration of the terms.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Just want to thank you for coming and presenting. We will offer vote.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right, are there any future agenda items from the commissioners?
I'm assuming we'll meet at some point in the next 2 to 3 months, maybe. But we definitely need to meet probably before December to discuss options with respect to the hotel, but what happens next year.
I'm hoping that we'll meet next month, September is regularly scheduled. I'm hoping we'll have a draft review. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
A second.
Vote on that.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Attorney
Thank you,
Farmer.
Founder.
Thank you, Commissioner Crowe.
Thanks,
Night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.